Mythic! Mythic with a 4 rare deck. Let's go. Yeah! Smashing. Let's go. Hey, it's Mythic Mike. We are here talking about the most underrated cards in the upcoming Bloomburrow set, which is about to come out. I am super pumped. There's a lot of little bunnies, bats, mice, lizards. It's a whole lot of fun, and the cards are broken. Some people are saying the power level's not high. You are out of your mind. I play a lot of aggro decks with interesting synergies, and this set is my dream. Like and subscribe. Let's get into it. Guys, people are not talking about this card enough. Underrated includes cards people like, but not enough. This is a banger. Seasoned Warren Guard, 1 mana, Rabbit Warrior, uncommon for a budget banger. And it's a 1/2. When Seasoned Warren Guard attacks, while you control a token, so you can just, map, clue, treasure, or creature token. Seasoned Warren Guard gets +2/+0 until on a turn, so it can attack in as a 3/2 on turn 2 and every following turn. Crazy. There's creatures that make tokens. I know people are going to put this in rapid decks, as we will, but there are a lot of fun ways to break it. One super fun way to break it is with Spiteful Hexmage. Play a little Orzhov pile. This is a 1 mana 3/2. When it enters, create a curse rule token. That is a token attached to target creature you control, and you have to turn one of your creatures into base power 1/1. The reason why this card hasn't been that good is because you want to play this early and you end up turning itself into a 1/1, so you don't get its benefit. But this turn 1, Spiteful Hexmage turn 2, this will stay a 3/2. We put the curse roll token on this, so it only goes down from a 1/2 to 1/1. And because this is a buff, it doesn't get affected, so you can still attack in that turn. We now have a token, the curse token, and this will swing in as a 3/1. You heard it here first. It's going to be a banger. Let's go. Why is everyone not talking about this card? Because they're out of their mind. 3 mana Hearthborn Battler, 2/3 haste, Lizard Warlock. It is an outlaw, rare. Whenever a player, either player, casts their second spell each turn, either turn, Hearthborn Battler deals 2 damage to target opponent. That's a crime. So this goes well with all the plot creatures, including the green plot creature, the bird. Can you imagine, right? You play like a 1 mana Cacophony Scamp. You plot the plant that gives something +3/+2 and trample on the Cacophony Scamp, right? You swing in, sacrifice it, do that whole trick. Check out my decks if you haven't. But then on turn 3, you play this. You can swing it with a 2/3 haste, but you play the other side of the now already plotted plant. So you get to play a 3/2 trample the plant for free, because that's how plotted works. Once it's plotted, you can play it for free. So now you've played 2 spells. You deal 2 damage to target opponent. If an opponent on their turn plays 2 spells, you do another 2 damage. You have some instants and monstrous rages, so you can keep proccing this. Oh my god, it's gonna be good, guys. Get ready. Insane card, guys. 2 mana, 2/2 first strike lifelink, Weasel Soldier uncommon. Now, this doesn't look great to most people, but lifelink in a 2/2 is already like getting close, because if you buff it with a buff spell like Monstrous Rage, not only do you do more damage, but you gain more life, or with +1/+1 counters. First strike, though, is also the other ability besides lifelink that is good to buff, because now you can just kill things, immediately, and you can surprise people out of nowhere, while also gaining life. So, I mean, these were Thalia stats. 2 power first strike will stop a lot of attacks. Put lifelink on this and put some, ways to buff it, and we are in business. Going on that same theme, Crumb and Get It. 1 mana instant, gives something +2/+2, and we have the option to also give the creature indestructible. +2/+2 and indestructible for 1 mana instant speed is nice. Put it on that little lifelink guy, first strike, and my god, we're blowing some people out, right? So the way to give it indestructible is you have to do this new thing where you gift the opponent something, where you give them something. You don't have to, but then you don't get the indestructible. And if you want the indestructible, you give them a food. Not the end of the world. So I think this will see a lot of play in some kind of 1-turn kill buff decks, maybe white red. Maybe Boros is like the 1-turn kill deck where you fling and do all that stuff and buff your Cacophony Scamp. and the new Cacophony Scamp. So I'm looking forward to it. Let's go. Dude, Hired Claw is insane. 1 mana Lizard Mercenary, it's an outlaw. Whenever you attack with one or more lizards, this is a lizard. Hired Claw deals 1 damage to target opponent. That's a crime. For 2 mana, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Activate only if opponent lost life and only once each turn. Forget that second part, which is fine. There used to be a black card that did this. It was like a pirate. This unblockable 1 damage on attack is crazy. It automatically makes Spectacle go off, and Spectacle is like when opponent loses life, you get extra abilities, which this deck doesn't call it Spectacle or this set, but a lot of things say if your opponent lost life this turn, you do X. Insane. This is insane. And again, like getting those last little bits of damage through unblockable against like someone dropping an Atraxa always is super nice. And you'll see, I mean, this isn't legendary. You can have 3 of these and attack in for 3, right? And it's just unblockable before they have chance to block. Just put this everywhere, guys. Trust me. Let's go. Guys, why is no one talking about this card? I don't even care about a Frogs deck. This is crazy. 3 mana Long River Lurker, uncommon, 2/3. Frog Scout. It has Ward 1. Other frogs have Ward 1. So maybe there's a way to do it with frogs. But even without it, it's this next line of text I like. When it enters, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Whenever, and this is not legendary, so you can play multiples, but whenever that creature deals combat damage this turn, you may exile it. If you do, return to the battlefield under its owner's control. So you can obviously do all the shenanigans with like prototype creatures where they're smaller, then you flash them back. But I mean, I just want to play this in a mill deck with those big mill creatures that are 12/12s, right? Like Souls of the Lost and things like that. And then just put this in and you just can't block my creature. That sounds good. Plus it has Ward 1, so it's a little harder to kill. Plus you could blink it. Plus it's not even rare. I think this is going to be a super fun one, guys. We're going to make this work. All right. 1 mana Frog Warrior. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's a 1 mana 2/2, which isn't amazing, but it's good. Otherwise, you may return this. So we have to return a creature if it's not this. Otherwise, we can return this. The way I think you can do this is with adventure cards and plot creatures, where you get to play the plot twice. I think that's the way. I don't think you want to do enters the battlefield triggers alone. They're just not good enough in most situations. But we're going to make something work here. We're going to make something work. Let's go, baby. I mean, Sellsword alone will be fun, but also like the plant plot guy. There's a lot of fun things to do here. All right, I am looking forward to some bunnies. 3 mana, 3/3 uncommon, Rabid Citizen. I don't think a lot of people are talking about this one, but I think it has some legs. It's close, but I think we're going to make it work. When this or another rabbit enters, target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Then draw a card if this is the second time the ability resolved. The +1/+0 goes off every time. So there's a 3 mana sorcery that makes 3 1/1 rabbits. I'm not putting in here because it's not underrated, but that will give creatures +3/+0 and draw a card. And we're in a rabbit theme and it's uncommon. I think there's a lot of fun things to do here. We're going to make it pop. Let's go. Dude, Fireglass Mentor, what is happening? 2 mana Rakdos, uncommon Lizard Warlock, 2/1. At the beginning of your second main phase, so later in your turn, if an opponent lost life, yes, they always will lose life. I play those cards. Exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one. Until the end of turn, you may play that card. I mean, yeah, pretty much draw a card every turn and gets card selection. This is a banger. Uncommon, what were they thinking? We're going to break it. Let's go. I had to at least mention it. You know I love my combat tricks, and this is one of the best ones in a long time. Overprotect, uncommon. Target creature you control gets +3/+3 trample. Hexproof and indestructible. My God, it's a save. It's a trampler. It's a Look, we're putting this on Picnic Ruiner, Cacophony Scamp, the new mouse Cacophony Scamp, and we are just going to break some souls, some hearts, whatever we got to break. Let's go. Guys, I'm pumped about this card. I don't see a lot of people talking about it. Jackdaw Savior, 3 mana. Bird Cleric. It's a 3/1 flying for 3. When this or another creature you control with flying dies, return another target creature card with mana value with lesser mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield. So lesser is a buzzkill and dying is a buzzkill because they could exile it with Sunfall, etc. What I foresee is putting this into a deck where you have the ability to sack your own stuff, whether that's with like the fling, like Callous Sellsword, or a creature that can like tap to sacrifice another creature, or like the village rights type things. I think there's a way to make this work so that you can force the die triggers and make some really fun stuff happen. All right, I have heard people talk about this, but not enough. 2 mana vigilance, 1/3 rat rogue common called Azure Beastbinder. So it's a 1/3 with vigilance, and it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or greater, so things can't really kill it to block it. When it attacks, up to one target artifact, creature, or planeswalker an opponent controls loses all abilities until your next turn. So that's including their turn. If it's a creature, it also has base power and toughness 2/2 until your next turn. So this is Oko. This is the line of text on Oko that broke it, where you could turn their things into 3/3 Elks. So we can turn their Atroxes into 2/2s that don't do anything. This is going to be broken. This is going to be a banned card. You heard it here first. Let's go. Yo, Scavenger's Talent. We're going to put this in Insidious Roots. That's what we're going to do. 1 mana, whenever one or more creatures you control die, create a food token. Only triggers once. There's other guys. There's like a 2/2 guy, black guy that makes when a creature dies, you make a clue. So there's other ways to do this too. And then for 2, you go to the next level. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, target player mills 2 cards. We'll be milling ourselves. Then for 3, at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice 3 other non-land permanents. If you do, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it, which means it's exiled after. So, obviously self-mill will work here. I think there's a way to make this Insidious Roots. We're going to give it a try. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of different ways to go about this. Let's go. I think this is just a broken card, guys. Valley Rockcaller, 2 mana, Squirrel Warlock, rare. It's a 1/3 with Menace. Whenever it attacks, each opponent loses X life, where X, and you gain X life, where X is the number of squirrels, bats, lizards, and rats. So you can put a bunch of things like that into here. We have a lot of good, bats. We have good, ones in all of those. Let's say you attack and you've got like 4 creatures. Then, yeah, you're dealing 4 damage, gaining 4 life. That's going to win any race. You can use the boots that give things haste. This is only 2 mana. So we play the 1 mana artifact boots guy, or boots, that I've been playing in a lot of my decks. And then for 1, you just equip it onto this. So on turn 3, you can swing in with this. It'll be a 2/3 menace, and it will do at least 1 damage because we have this squirrel, but probably more. Sick card, guys. Sick card. Again, not sure this should go on the underrated cards list, but I think it's just one of the best cards I've seen pretty much ever. So I'm going to put it here anyways because it deserves more hype. So Mockingbird X1. It's a bird bard, rare, 1/1 flying. You can have this enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, including your opponent's creatures, with mana value less than or equal to the mana spent to cast it, which means you can cast it for 1 and copy a 1/1. It's not just the amount of mana in the X, it's the amount of mana total, the amount of mana spent to cast it. Except it's a bird and it has flying. What? So we could play like a blue-black mill strategy and copy our Souls of the Lost. That's going to be like a 12/12 and then has flying. We can copy all their stuff. Situationally, this is crazy. We can copy a big life linker and swing in with fly. This is broken. It's broken. I'm letting you know. All right. Bark Knuckle Boxer, 2 mana, 3/2. Raccoon Berserker, uncommon. And whenever you expend 4, which is pay 4 mana during a turn, either turn, it gains indestructible. So there is a 4 mana black removal spell where you can convoke and it surveils 2. I forget what it's called. At instant speed. So if we have enough instant speed 4 mana things, we have the 4 mana blue new card that draws 2 cards or counters a spell. So if we have enough 4 mana instants, this will be fun. This will be a fun little way to blow people out. Let's go. All right, Thoughtstalker Warlock, 3 mana. Black's got some cool cards. Uncommon. I love how they're not even rares. There's like a really good. There are some budget decks now that can be made for sure. Menace, and it's a 2/2. And when it enters, choose target opponent. So that is a crime. If they lost life this turn, they reveal their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. Otherwise, if they didn't lose life, they just discard a card. So, I mean, you can play the bat on turn 2, swing in with it, right? Take one card, and then take another card. And this one permanently gets rid of it. While putting a 2/2 Menace, which is no joke. It's also a Lizard Warlock, so it's, you know, a Lizard, and it's also a Outlaw. Yeah. I am going to make a Outlaw deck now because I think we have a critical number that's actually good. So look out for that. Again, not sure if it's underrated, but I had to put it on the list because I don't think it's getting enough talk. I just made my last deck before this was a mono black self-mill where you use the 4/2 flyer that gets cheaper when you have creatures in your graveyard. You put this in, that deck is already even better. That deck did get me to Mythic. And yeah, this is a, look, 8 mana, uncommon, so pretty sick. We have a lot of budget mill, self-mill mono black. 6/6, and the spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature you in exile or in your graveyard. So if they sunfall you, it still counts. Or if you exile your own creatures. Menace, Death Touch, 6/6. We'll get this down to 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana. Let's go, baby. All right, again, maybe not super underrated, but not being talked about enough, so I'm putting it on the list. 2 mana, Umberhurt, Challenger, Mouse Warrior Rare, 2/2 haste with prowess and has Valiant, which is a new ability where whenever it is the target of a spell or ability, so that would include just like if one of your creatures, like when it attacks, does something to one of your other creatures, or plot, I believe. Does plot do it? I don't know. But the point is, it's pretty sick that it doesn't have to just be a spell. You get this Valiant thing, and for this creature, you look at the top card of your library and can play it that turn. Really sick in a mono red deck, especially a 1-turn kill deck where you're trying to get those monstrous rages, etc. Gonna be a banger. My God. Again, fine. People are talking about it, but not enough. We have 2 Cacophony Stamps. That's 8 Cacophony Stamps. That means if you use Callous Sellsword to fling Cacophony Scamp, it does 3. If it hits, it does damage equal to its power. And then you fling it, it does damage equal to its power due to the Sellsword trigger, as well as the trigger from here. So on 1 turn, you can do triple its power on this and Sellsword, and technically Picnic Ruiner because of the double strike. We have a 1-turn kill deck. I'm not even putting the plot bird guy that everyone loves, which is good, into that deck. We are killing people turn 3 every time. It's going to be obnoxious, but it's going to be fun. This is a 1 mana Heartfire hero. Whenever it becomes target of a spell or ability for the first time, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And when it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So it's a growing Cacophony Scamp. Now, I know you can't hit their creatures, but whatever. Also, damage equal to its power. I believe if it has lifelink, it will, if you use a spell, it will also gain you life. That's how Cacophony Scamp works. Guys. Put this Cacophony, Picnic Ruiner, the green plant guy, the plot. I'm so pumped, guys. I'm so pumped. Let's go. Insidious Roots. Here we go, baby. 2 mana, Keen-Eyed Curator, Raccoon Scout, rare. It's a 3/3. As long as there are 4 more card types among cards exiled with Keen-Eyed Curator, like creature, enchantment, land, it gets +4/+4 and has trample, 7/7 trample. 2 mana, 3/3 is not bad. And then for 1 mana and instant speed, exile target card from my graveyard, including opponents. That is a crime. Also, if we play this in Insidious Roots is an enchantment. We'll have a lot of creatures. We'll have lands. Maybe we'll have some instants and sorceries. If we don't, we can just exile his opponent's graveyard, right? For that last one. And then every time we exile our own creatures, we are getting Insidious Roots triggers. Yeah. I mean, this could go in mono green, but it's going in Insidious Roots. We're bringing Insidious Roots back. There's a new way to do it now. You used to have creatures that could exile themselves from the graveyard. Now I think there's enough things where you just have triggers like this where you exile the creatures in the graveyard. Don't need to have triggers to get themselves out. you can exile them using things like this. And there's a bunch of them in the new set. That's how we're going to do it. We're going to break it. Let's go. All right, I'm not certain about this one, but I am really into a new Insidious Roots, and this could be an interesting way to do it. Might not be good enough. We're going to give it a try. 3 mana, Squirrel Druid, uncommon 3/2. When it enters, you may forage. Forage is exile 3 cards from your graveyard to sacrifice a food. If we do, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. A way to get Insidious Roots back, as well as if we have an Insidious Roots out, a way to exile things to get an Insidious Roots trigger. So interesting. If this was 2 mana and like a 1/2 and did the same thing, I would like it a lot more, but we will definitely give this a try. I think there's, if you can't tell, we're doing Insidious Roots and we're doing it well. Again, I know people have talked about it, so look, insane. 2 mana, trample, rabbit, goes in the Bunnycorn deck, and its power and toughness equal the number of creatures. There's the 3 mana thing that makes 3 bunnies. God, this is going to be so much fun. If only temporary lockdown did not exist, but we'll have ways to kill it, like the Might, the 1 mana artifact Might guy. We're putting that in. We're doing this. We're going to crush some people. Let's go. My God, guys, 2 mana. I love Rakdos. Legendary creature, Lizard Mercenary. If only it wasn't legendary. 3/2 rare. Ward, pay 3/2 life. That's nice. Other creatures you control enter with an additional +1/+1 counter if each opponent lost life. This turn, it's like Spectacle, which used to exist. I love this because I'm always playing aggro. Whenever you cast a lizard spell, this Geth deals 1 damage to target opponent. It's also a Lizard Mercenary, which is an outlaw. So they already have the 3/2 outlaw guy. Whenever you play an outlaw, you do 1 damage to target opponent, which is a crime. This, whenever you play a lizard. So we're going to combine this guy and the outlaw guy and play an outlaw deck, but put this guy in and maybe one other lizard. Yes, you'll see. You'll see, guys. Let's go. All right, this is an insane card. You don't even have to do all these blink things or return things that people are doing, but Dream Dew Entrancer, 4 mana, Frog Wizard, not legendary, rare, 3/4 with reach. That's already a big boy against blocking its mono red. Reach is hugely important these days. When it enters, tap up to 1 target creature and put 3 stun counters on it. It's like 4 turns that you kill their creature for, or make it unusable. If you control that creature, draw 2 cards. So that means you can do it on your 1/1 or one of your own creatures, draw 2 cards. Unlike the 3 mana guys that make you like sacrifice your own creature, draw 2 cards, this just temporarily puts it out. And if it has an aura, or if it has some kind of, ability, you still get to use it. Just an insane card. Sure, we can blink it. I don't think we're ever going to return it to our hand, but just playing this out without any ability to blink is going to be insane. Change the pace. I'm pumped. All right, if you want to see these ideas in action, remember to like and subscribe. I want to make some unique bangers as soon as the set comes out and regularly make decks that climb to Mythic seen nowhere else. Let's go.